Shout out to them Corrys. What up, what up, what up?
I can be 100% without being conscious of how you respond to it.
How blessed are we to have wives who won't allow us to settle?
All they asked me was, how things been going?
Boom.
Right. I was like, whoa.
Cool. Yo, welcome back to the Growing in Love podcast. We are your host, Austin Smith.
And Bria Smith.
You're wondering why we're sitting so close, because she can't keep her hands off me. But we're sitting close for a reason. One, because we love each other. Two, we're sharing our mics with some special guests, and we'll let you know who they are in a second. But this is officially our first couple that's been invited to host. We're the host.
Co-host?
Yeah, co-host, but sit on the comfy couch with us. These two are special to us. They are not just friends, they are family. And the cool thing about them is I'm thankful that we'll tell more how we met them, but just to give a spoiler alert, we met them in ministry. And sometimes in ministry, when you transition, you lose friendships. But I'm thankful that this friendship has remained. And when we do catch up, when we talk, it's like we never missed a beat. So I'm excited to have these two on. They are married, obviously. They are artistes. They do the artist things. Picasso, cousin, illustrator, creators, writers.
Know the word, okay?
Listen, preachers.
Ministers of the word.
Preachers.
All right. Okay.
Obviously they're married. They are parents. They're have two beautiful boys. And most importantly, they love Jesus for real. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, we introduce the first ever couple on the Growing in Love podcast, and definitely, hopefully not the last. Shout out to them Corrys. What up, what up, what up?
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Listen, that was quite the introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It's our first introduction. It was awkward. You know how that is. Bro.
Yeah, and when like you at the church and like the pastor like about to be introduced and they be like,
you got to find where to put your hands. Awkward.
Keep smiling.
Yeah.
What to do?
Well, welcome to the cribbo.
Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah, man.
We have been longtime fans to all of your content. We family, but outside of that, it's always kind of interesting to be on this side. Like we see you.
Oh, check your mic, bro.
My bad. To be fans of family is kind of interesting. So it's cool to be on. It's cool to be on the show. I guess in better terms.
Yeah. Nah, we're glad that y'all on, man. It's super exciting. I was just excited like that y'all were able to jump on with us, and then y'all came to the crib. It's like, man, it just felt good to see y'all. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's definitely like a family reunion.
Yeah,
like
man.
We pulled in the gate. I'm like, the gate. First
oh
off.
man, here she go. Here she
The
go.
gate.
Here she
Okay,
go.
I don't know if y'all want the people to know how you living, but
Chill, bro.
the family's doing all right.
The Lord has been kind, gracious upon us.
We realizing how long it's been since we've seen y'all. So like in person, but it's good to have friendships where it's like it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. You're good, we're good, and we can stay good. And when we meet back up, it's all good.
Yeah.
So looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. So you guys know how we do. This is the Growing in Love podcast. If it's your first time watching us, if this is your first episode, one of the first things that we do is we talk about what we're growing through for the week. Babe, you want to tell them what that means for us? Like what?
Yeah, so it's kind of self-explanatory, but if you're going through something, we like to say that you're growing through it because you're going to get through it. So usually we always start the podcast with what we're growing through, but now we're going to kick it to the Corrys and see what you guys are growing through this week. So whoever wants to start.
Well, I got to be chivalrous, so it has to be ladies.
Oh my goodness, this guy. First off, you don't even talk like that. Why your voice so deep?
You got that.
He's like, at first I gotta be chivalrous and let you go.
She had to call you out like that.
Hey man, Silky D on the mic.
Right,
on the ones and twos.
Silky D. Okay. Well, I guess I could go first. for me, it's been an interesting week for me because I took a week off from work.
Mm-hmm.
And so the majority of this week, I haven't been at my typical, 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And what led to that, though, was just like a real sense of overwhelm, sense of, listen, you're doing too much.
Mm.
You're doing too much. And I didn't realize that I was actually overwhelmed, because I was functioning, doing my work, showing up at home with the boys and with my husband, and but it kind of all came to a head where I was talking to someone at my job, and it just became abundantly clear. Like, it was in a very emotional moment, just talking about, all they asked me was, how have things been going?
Boom.
Right. I was like, whoa.
Why is my face wet?
Right. I was like, what is happening? Yeah. Lord, let me turn my camera off. This is on Zoom.
Oh, man.
But yeah, and she was pretty much like, what do you need?
Mm.
And that was a question that I couldn't fully answer, and I was just allowed the space to take off. So first off, grateful that I had time off to just be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really what I've been growing through is battling with thinking that my hands always have to be busy,
Mm-hmm.
that I always have to be doing something in order to feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not the way, God never intended for us to be busy. He intended for us to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you have gifts that you want to pour into people and gifts that you want to use and exercise, it can lead to you always saying yes. It can lead to you always pouring and not, receiving, not resting. It was just good to spend time with the boys, to actually cook a meal that wasn't just tossed together, and to just sit and be. So I've been growing through feeling overwhelmed and coming to grips with knowing that this is not the way that God intended for me to walk out my gifts and talents and stuff. So yeah,
that's
been
good.
Though.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, even get into a vulnerable enough place to see where you are, because like you said, you can be so busy that you don't even realize, I'm so overwhelmed, what you were saying, sometimes you don't even know.
And listen, mom life will have you out here.
Yes, listen,
yeah, that's a whole nother episode in itself. But there are, even in small moments, you can make a difference. Yeah. It doesn't matter, because of the things that I love to do. I love to see other people doing well in purpose, in succeeding and thriving and all of that. Yeah. So when I'm a part of someone else's doing well, that feels good. And I think that it has to be big and extravagant. Yeah. But then I also have to realize that reading a book to my son is meaningful. Yep. I have to realize that, actually sitting and listening to my husband talk about his day and talking about what he's trying to work through and sort through is important. And really just sitting still and quiet is important. So, yeah.
Redefining what purpose is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, D?
Before we come to me, to piggyback off of her, I think a part of that was my responsibility too, because even before we got married, when we were dating, she was transparent enough to tell me, she was like, look, sometimes you got to tell me when to chill, because she'll get so, fixated is not the best word to use, but she'll get so hyper-focused. And so, I hate the perfectionist, but she's so focused on getting it executed and well that it'll consume her for a lot. And I was seeing a lot of that recently, to the point where it's even littlest things like, hey, baby, did you eat? All right, I'll take care of the kids. Just go upstairs.
Sit down somewhere.
Sit down. You know what I mean? Go. Yeah, I'll run the bath, things like that, because I know that she needs me to kind of pull her out of that. Oh, yeah, you're right. I have not eaten. So I kind of felt like that was partly hey, accountability partner, hey, companion, you might want to, kind of nudge her off that train track. So, for me, I have been growing through really trying to be more active or stepping in my self-worth as far as what I can do. So these past couple weeks, I have not worked on my resume or touched my resume in about 2 or 3 years. I've done a lot since then. My career has really excelled. And so I've never been a fan of doing it just because you got to talk about yourself. I don't like doing that. And so I had my wife to help me with it. And it was like pulling teeth for her because she was like, okay, what did you do for this? Who was there? You know, what companies were at the part of this, you know, and you did what? And, you know, it was like 2 days into reconstructing my resume. She was like, do you hear your resume? Like, do you hear how well you do and what you do?
Himothy. Hemi Neutron. Talk to
and
me
I can
nice.
be transparent. And I'm like, I don't. It's just, it's always been a certain level of discomfort. My mom has been my cheerleader forever. So I was always like, well, you know, I've always had somebody cheer me on, but I think I just wasn't cheering myself on. I was just like, all right, well, I can do it, but I don't really acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And that would kind of make me sit in a place where I'm not being, my worth is not being responded to. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until she was like, look at your resume. And ask for this money, you know what I'm saying, for lack of a better term. So, you know, when I stepped back and was like, yeah, I have been in places because of my gift, I kind of need to build off that momentum and keep walking in how well, you know, how gifted I am or how well I am in the gift that God gave me.
Yeah.
So this is not the first time that I've experienced it, but I definitely was like, as I've gotten older and that, you know, I'm responsible for more than just me. And I'm not getting younger. I'm like, I really need to tap into how gifted I am and what I can do with it, as opposed to just saying, oh, I can, but, you know, whatever.
But, man, the thing that I love about that, bro, is just, like, how blessed are we to have wives who won't allow us to settle. You know, like, wives that see in us what we don't see in ourselves, or we see it, but we're, like, afraid to, like, really lean into it. And you're like, nah, bro, stand on business, like, because I see the work that you put in, and I appreciate you. You know, they appreciate us as their husbands, and you know, but not allowing us to like undermine ourselves and like undervalue ourselves and lowball ourselves. And you know, we've had our talks with in the graphic design space, bro. Like, what you be saying, Bamas?
Yeah,
Bamas be out here in the freelance world, just out here. Just being ninjas,
and I think
Negroes.
I think before that, another kind of impactful thing with her, she was like, it's frustrating to know how much potential you have. I think is how she put it.
Yeah.
Because of how much I can do versus how much I do.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, it's a cocktail of things. It's complacency. It's fear of failure. It's fear of me not being affirmed in what it is that I can do. And I'd rather, you know, for a while, like the majority of my adulthood, I would rather just be accepted for where I was as opposed to stepping out in what I have. And the chance that someone's just like, oh, okay, thank you, versus, wow. You know what I mean? I think I was looking for a certain level of affirmation that if it's not responded in a way, I'm like, whoa, am I really as gifted as I think I am? And so I was afraid of really knowing the truth about that versus already knowing how good I am or how good my gift is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's good. Are we gonna do it, or you want to just?
We can do it.
Because I had a question, but
okay, say a question.
Well, I had a thought that you mentioned like that ideal of like, am I kind of like that worth, the confidence like in your art. I'm wondering like when y'all met, like, and you know you started pursuing Cicely, and then just like you know asking the big question like for her to like marry you. Did you kind of see that like that pattern translate into like, dang, can I really? I know I'm already jumping ahead into the conversation,
No.
but I was like, oh, this is an open door, because it's just like the reason why I asked you that, man, is because there's certain. All right, for me, being an athlete growing up, performance is the way to success.
Yeah.
However, success in the athletic space with performance doesn't necessarily work like say like in your relationship with Jesus. So there's things that we do in other spaces that either are good or that we need to like check, that we need to heal, that we need to like confront, because if not, it shows up in other spaces of our lives, right? So I'm just wondering with that confidence piece, because I resonate with the confidence piece. Have you seen that shown up in like your marriage or even before getting married, like just that confidence, like, man, like I know she the one, but I don't know if, you know, I can. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So yeah.
And I don't mean to be in your business, but
No.
I'm in your business.
If anybody, you guys have been granted this space.
All right, cool.
It's funny, like as far as our pursuing, my now wife, pursued me. Not pursued me.
Story time.
Let me take that back. Yeah, that's wrong. That's the wrong term I used. I think so.
Time.
Before its inception of our relationship, she noticed me.
Okay.
And
She
did
shot
not
her
notice
shot.
her.
She shot her shot.
She tried.
Hold on. I'm gonna let you. I promise I'm gonna let you tell the story because I always tell the story.
And I'll redline where you know what I'm saying you might.
Wait, what?
Go ahead. You got it, babe.
No, so yes, I noticed him and tried to get his attention. He wasn't picking up nothing I was putting down, like at all. But I think the reason for that is part of what you're speaking to. I'm gonna let you.
Yes, that's true. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit.
Okay.
So when we actually the momentum started in us dating, we dated or we went out on dates for about a year, maybe a year.
Yeah, like a year and a half.
When we were first dating, I was living with my mother.
Okay.
I was working at a company. I was working in the mailroom of a company. I was dating someone who had their own house and was working for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. Like, she was established. A career job. Sorry.
You good?
And like I said, I was living at the crib in an apartment, and so I knew that at some point, how I really lived was going to have to come out. And so instead of being like, okay, you accept me for who I am, well, I'm more transparent enough to know how I'm really living. Instead of that, I backed away. I not severed, but I kind of was like, yeah, I lied about not wanting companionship because I veiled that with the truth of I don't feel like I'm good enough to be yoked with her. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I knew the type of person, like the way we were going, I knew that it was inevitable that she was going to be like, all right, we got to take this up to the next level. There is no nothing.
Yeah, we ain't gonna see where this going. We just gonna see where we're gonna go with the flow.
She was like, all right, so what do you want to do with your life? We've been on 2 dates, so
We've been on 2 dates.
No.
Dang.
I know, no, that's I'm Cliff Noting it, but that we had gotten to the point where I knew, based on the type of person that she was, there needed to be progression. I felt it, and I knew that my insecurities blocked it. It was like, nope, nah, you cut that off before it gets to where she wants it to be. And so, I made up this. I prolonged what could have been because I just didn't feel like I was worth it. How did that sound? Was that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did good. That was good. I mean, so, and actually, I've never actually heard you call that early part of our companionship dating. So, like, when I moved to Charlotte, he was someone we just kind of met up for him to show me the city. Now, I was interested in him, but I was like, I'm not going to make that known to him. And we really hung out as friends. Now, he always paid, but it wasn't like flirting, things of that sort. Like, we were genuinely friends. Now, he was a friend I liked, but we had not crossed any of those boundaries. And for like a year and a half, we went out, out to eat, hung out together, had conversations here and there together. And that was it. And so it got to the point where I was like, oh, well, he must really just want to be my friend because he has not made any sort of extra step to say, hey, let's go to the next level. Yeah. What I didn't know and I know now is that during that time, like you said, he was living with his mom and he knew that I'm out here just telling him my whole resume. And he's like, no, that is not, I don't want no parts of that. I can't compete with that. And in reality, I was like, I see something in you that matches what I'm trying to do. Like, why you not, I don't understand. And what was kind of the turning point was that he messaged, that's why I was looking at my phone for it. He messaged me in group, was it Group Me?
Group Me, bro.
Way back. He messaged me on the Black Planet.
I just got triggered. Group Me just triggered me.
I know. He messaged me in Group Me and was like, I don't think, he was like, do you think that some people were never meant to get married? And pretty much in that conversation, he said that he didn't think he was supposed to get married. And I said, oh, this is my cue to exit.
This is not it.
Well,
this is my cue to exit. We went out one more time, and on that date, he said, let's go Dutch. And I was like, yeah, this is it.
Sheesh.
This is it.
Self-sabotage.
Now, okay, let me clarify. You know, there's nothing wrong with staying at home with your mom. Get your money up, stack your money. I get it. And I don't want that to be the reason why a lot of people say I'm not going to progress. Because you can be confident in who you are. Like I said, women, from my history, stay with their parents until they court and get married.
Right.
But I just wasn't able to realize what she saw in me. You know what I mean? Even though, like, till this day, I still don't know if where I was in my life would have deterred her. Knowing her now, she probably would have been the type to say, okay, I'll stick around, but I need to see progression. Because just like today, she's like, I know where you can be, but I need to know that you're trying to get there. But again, I was like, no, I'd rather keep you away from knowing this side. I'd rather, lose you than for you to know who I really am. So that was, yeah. But the Lord, she brought it back around.
I was just about to say that. I mean, with everything that you just said, Cicely, you're saying, he said, let's go Dutch on that last date. How did y'all get to start dating again? Or how did you gain your confidence to actually pursue her? Was it with help from Cicely, or how did y'all get to that point?
Okay, so for me, I was in a better place. I had, got back into God real good. I got a better job. I got out on my own. I started to really realize. I mean, to be honest with you, I'll keep it a buck. She got into a relationship on Instagram. Yeah. On Instagram. We were friends. I saw she was with this. I was about to say the wrong word. This young man. And I was like, no, I don't need this negativity in my life. And I deleted her or whatever.
So how long was this?
Probably was it a year? It was no more than a year. Well, it was about a year.
And
y'all didn't talk for a year?
That's a good question.
I don't know. It wasn't quite that long. So we were friends for about a year and a half. I probably dated that dude for maybe 6 months, 7 months.
Did you really like him, or you feel like it was more so like?
No, I was definitely settling. He was a little younger than me, and it's interesting because when I started dating him, well, we know who this is. Our former pastor's wife, first lady.
Yeah.
She pretty much was like, "You're changing."
Mm.
And I didn't realize, like, she meant that in a bad way, not in a good way. And I didn't realize that this relationship was actually changing me. And he even noticed, like, when we actually rekindled to start back dating, I was skinny. And the joke now is that he was like, I love to see you eat, because when I met you, I'm like, all right, okay. but yeah, I started dating someone else. He didn't like that. That sort of, I guess, lit a fire a little bit. And then the way that I knew that he was the one that I really wanted to be with, I don't know if y'all have been to our ugly sweater parties. I don't think so. We hadn't had one in a while, but we used to have ugly sweater parties at our house, and we invite all our friends to come over. Obviously, it was a great time, and I wanted him to be there. And I was still dating this guy, and I was like, "Ooh, that doesn't. I can't have. I can't have him here.
Sticky.
Yes, indeed, indeed." And that's when I knew, like, then me and that guy broke up, and I stumbled upon tickets to the KB concert. Went to the KB concert together.
Word.
And the rest is history.
She said she didn't have anybody to go to. She had an extra ticket, and she reached out to me.
You just happened to be available.
Listen.
Hey, you said that door's open.
Listen, gotta lead.
You only got one shot.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah.
Nah, that's dope, man. I love what I'm hearing too. Is I love that for you, Cicely, like, well, just with y'all's story, like when y'all met, I think the intimidation for you, Darius, that you spoke of, like, you knew that, like, she was going to require you to grow. Like, it wasn't like like you said, you weren't doing bad, but it was more so just like, yeah, if I get with her, like, I have to go to another place. And sometimes I think people are like, man, like, people will say they know what they want until they get it. And then it's like, dang, I don't really know if I'm really ready for what I've been asking for, what I've been praying for, right? But the fact that you guys were able to rekindle, and then so you rekindle, start dating and everything, right? And then take us, when did y'all get married?
We dated. How long did we date? 2 years, maybe.
Yeah,
2
about
years.
2 years.
Now, for me, what was different or interesting about us, I'm pretty sure we started talking about marriage before we even put a title to our relationship.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Why so?
Talking about, I just don't like it. This was a very extraordinary relationship for me. I mean, for us.
Mm.
But this was, first of all, and I'm going to keep it a buck with you. In my previous relationships, at some point, there was some type of physical intimacy.
Mm.
Because for one, you kind of think that's what needs to happen.
Right.
Secondly, we were young.
Yeah.
And full of it. But with her, I mean, don't get me wrong, absolutely physically attracted to her. But there was something, I mean, we know now, there was something that was just like, that doesn't need to happen now.
Yeah.
What we had was so rich that I was like, I know that sex will make this tricky. And even what was crazier, I was like, I would subdue that for sake of risking or jeopardizing what we had. You know what I mean? And so the amount of time we spent together, even though, I was pushing it, I was kissing the necks and I was rubbing the butts, and she was like, relax.
Rubbing the butts is insane.
Yeah, like legit.
Like she got two.
I was really pushing that line, but sincerely, I was like, I really
Respectfully.
right. I really was like, Lord, what's happening? That I was really respecting the boundaries of our relationship because I knew that taking it beyond, she made it clear. She was like, I don't want to have sex before marriage.
Yeah.
And normally, naturally, a lot of people like everybody says that. Right. But I submitted to that because I knew what I had, and I was like, yeah, I can put that aside until, I earn it. But yeah, the relationship was good, and we were talking about kids and kid names and marriage. And Bit more said if she was my boyfriend or girlfriend, she was, she was buying me gifts. She was leaving the country, coming back with gifts and stuff. So it was established, but
Yeah.
it was just so interesting the way we progressed. And it's really interesting to explain it to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what was very different and apparent is that, like, we were truly friends. And even while we were dating, we felt like we could be fully ourselves with each other. I think that helped a lot with the progression to where it just felt natural to have those types of conversations. It felt natural to, like, he truly was becoming my best friend. And I think that's how we knew. Like, I had never dated anyone who I could be 100% myself. Like, he's seen every side of me. And even before we got engaged, that was already in motion of, like, yeah, I can be myself. Like, I don't feel like I have to put on a front for you. I don't have to be someone who I am not. And I value that more than I ever knew.
Yeah.
Like, that put all the other things where it didn't even matter. Didn't even matter. So, yeah.
I'll say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you all off. I think one of the gifts for me when we were dating, so like, yes, knowing every side of her, my wife has had a reputation in her past of being kind of stoic. A lot of people, she's a very loving person. Everybody close to us knows that she's a lover, she's a giver. But a lot of times she runs into, when I first met you, I didn't think you liked me. Listen. Everybody would say that.
Straight face.
Legit.
No smile.
Listen, I'm trying.
Yeah, like she's gotten so much, she's gotten a lot better. I mean, she's mastered at this point. But I think, when we were having conversations and she's goofy, she talking about farting. She can fart around me.
Yeah,
Let's keep it a buck. When she was farting,
we here, bro.
That's
that's
real.
the threshold. That's that
is
was
real.
That was a milestone that I wish that I had.
Listen, because
memorialized.
this one right here,
I can't.
I don't fart.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. But when it started coming out, it's like,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Cause
We're going there.
Because she going to blast me. I already know she going to blast me.
Yeah.
Blast me.
It's
But,
only because he's sensitive. And when somebody's sensitive, you gotta keep going.
That's probably what it was with me. She knew I didn't care about none of that. And
Yeah.
I was using her bathroom like it was my bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
The second time I was over to the house, so she knew that I was real comfortable with her.
Yeah.
But
My goodness.
knowing when we were dating and seeing how she was with other people, and then seeing the side of her that still to this day, like, I feel like that her mom doesn't see. Respectfully, it's not that she doesn't feel comfortable, but I think the fact that we have developed a relationship where she was like, I can be 100% without being conscious of how you respond to it was such a gift to me. You know what I mean? That still to this day, I don't want to say brag, but I'm extremely thankful for, because it feels like something that no one has achieved. I mean, rightfully.
I have a question for y'all. So, one, for the viewers who don't know, how long have y'all been married?
Right, because we got married the same year.
It'll be
8 years.
We're going on 8 years.
8 years in June.
2016.
Y'all December, right?
10. Yep.
Yeah, 8 years in December.
Okay, so y'all been married for 8 years. We have gone through a lot in our marriage. I know y'all have probably gone through a lot as well. In the theme of growing in love, what do y'all think is one of the things, lessons that y'all have learned in these 8 years that has truly helped y'all in marriage? Helped y'all get to a healthy place in marriage?
All right, we here. So actually, I think this would be meaningful to say. So our first year of marriage was horrible. Like, I thought about leaving him probably more times than I ever thought. Like, our first year of marriage was not a honeymoon.
Yeah.
You know, that whole newlywed phase that's happening now.
Yeah.
Really?
Listen, that sounds familiar.
And people don't really talk about that. But so Darius pointed out that we did not have sex before we got married. We were not intimate before we got married. And I think people can hear that and be like, oh man, like I wish I could do that. That's the story that I want to have. And that's the story that we have. But there's also other things that were still a struggle. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
So you guys aren't unfamiliar with this on this podcast. I struggled horribly with pornography, masturbation, dishonesty. I was looking at pornography on a honeymoon. It really had me in a vice. And so, yes, to say that I fought away from wanting to have sex with my wife, that was not all that contributed to why we weren't having sex. And I realized in our marriage that my vice or the pornography having it stronghold on me was the reason why I was not as intimate with my wife. I call it functioning abusers. People, I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff like that, and people that have been doing cocaine for 15 years, 20 years, like hard, or alcohol abusers that can still function because they have not died from it, but it's affected everybody around us. I feel like that's what pornography did to me. I was functioning. I was fine to me until I got into a point in my life where I was attached to somebody and I saw how damaged I was because of it, and how much it affected not only the pornography but my dishonesty about it, and like just the fact that I did not want to face it, and how it destroyed our first year. Like, yeah, our first year was our worst year, and it wasn't just this wasn't it came like she had to find out about it.
Gotcha.
And it was a point in our life where if I felt like I cheated on my wife year one, which rightfully, and this whole time I'm panicking about, Lord, fix this. Fix it today. Flip that switch. You're a God of miracles. You're the Lord of impossible. Fix this because this sucks. It hurts. I've hurt the number one person I love. And God was like, no, that's not what healing is. You got to sit in that today. You got to sit in it tomorrow. Yeah, you can go up to the church and spend the night there at the altar. That's cute. You're going to get up and you're going to feel the same way. Your wife is still not going to be looking at you.
Man, slow down. Slow down on that for real.
No, they don't. Like,
because that's real.
It was devastating. And it was like, before that, I was like, I just didn't realize how bad off I was off of something that seemed so menial, because nobody, like I had lived with this sin and just worked around it. I was able to live. It wasn't affecting nobody but me. And so when I was blessed with matrimony, and then my wife was like, what is this? It was a part of our marriage where she was like, who are you? Who did I marry? And I was like, don't say that to me. You know what I mean? I'm still the same person. And she was like, I'm not convinced. Weeks later, she's like, we're still not there. I don't know when I'll get there. I relapsed. There was a time it was a problem. And it was, I reached out. I was talking to him, everybody who was a spiritual figure in my life, my father. I didn't care who knew, because I was like, out on the streets just hurting. Because I had destroyed the one person that I had committed my life to keeping safe, to keeping happy, and to keep love. And it was just like, that bridge is about to crumble.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that's going to come and help you fix it but God. And he's like,
yeah,
I'll come when I come, when I'm supposed to come.
So let's stay on that boat, because we had that same issue. For me, porn was introduced like when I was in like 5th or 6th grade at like a sleepover. So like I wasn't looking for it. It came like literally we playing NBA Live, and then somebody else got like another TV over here, and I'm playing dunk contest. Everybody else over here, I'm like, what's going on over here? And then boom, bam. Yeah. And I know that it's not good, but everybody else seems to be like a magnet. Mm-hmm. So it opens up something where it's just like, you know, it's the, how can I say? It's the escape. Yeah. It ends up becoming the thing that never tells you no. And for me, it was a situation where as I grew older, and I've said it a lot of times on this podcast, the underlying theme, that's what I was talking about earlier, for me was like, am I good enough? Porn never said that you aren't good enough. It always says yes. It always, whatever you want, whoever you want, it always says yes. Yeah. So bringing that into marriage, it wasn't a thing that like, oh, I'm just going to bring porn into this marriage. It was more so like and I tell people that we do premarital with or just sit down and talk with, like what you don't deal with in one season, marriage has a way of amplifying it. And then let's just be real. Like in marriage, you know, well, if I ain't getting it from you or we mad, then I'll just find a way to get what I need. Or if I'm really trying my best to be free in the sense of like sober, let's just use the word sober, and you have a moment where like life is stressing you out, or, you know, old defaults, and you might not desire it anymore, but your body still takes count chemically of like, yes, this is my response on how I deal with stress. So it's not even about porn at this point. It's about like, I need help, Lord, retraining my brain and my triggers and my patterns and my sensors to respond in a healthy way. 1,000%. You know what I'm saying?
I think
so. My question. Oh, my bad. My question is like, how did you guys navigate through? There was a lot of grace, I'm sure. There's a lot of hard conversations, but how did you go from year one being a nightmare instead of a honeymoon to now being at a healthy place in your marriage? Because we've had to experience it. Y'all have experienced it. I know other people have as well. And I think it's good for people who are struggling with porn, who may be single. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing too. I mean, it's not just men. I think men are the ones that it just becomes the big magnifying glass. Yeah. Statistics say women just as much. You know what I'm saying? End of the day, if you're a man or a woman, if you bring that into marriage, it's gonna get ugly. So how have you guys navigated through that? How has talk to us about that?
Yeah, well, first it definitely wasn't easy. We knew that he needed accountability. And so thankfully we had people in our life at that time who, you know, live by biblical principles, who live and we think are like morally strong and could help, you know, kind of reestablish like that moral compass. Because at this point there wasn't like, this desire had taken over right and wrong in his mind to the point where, you know, it was like, this, I'm going to do this regardless of the consequences, which is how like a relapse happens. It's like, you know, the consequences, you have now been caught. And even though you say you are sorry, you're still doing the thing that you are apologizing about. It's like, that is a process to work through. But it was definitely not easy for me, you know, and this even piggybacks on the growing part of this. Like our whole marriage has been growing to the point of learning to communicate more, to communicate better with each other, to like say what you really mean, but also dealing with trauma, dealing with childhood stuff, dealing with, okay, one thing that we really realized is that it wasn't about lack of attraction to me. It wasn't about lack of wanting to be intimate with me, but it was about deeper issues within his own life, and this is how it manifested. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that can happen in various ways. Like, you know, for me, it is and has been overworking, you know, or trying to be a perfectionist. Like that, the vice, whatever vice that you have, is typically a reflection of something that you're trying to sort through in your own reality. And the lack of self-worth that he said that he felt when he first met me was now manifesting in, okay, pornography is a place where I don't have to think about the things I'm not good at. I don't have to think about the things that I'm failing at. And so I can, you know, it can be there for me. So I think it was first realizing the root. And then, you know, praying. I had to learn how to pray for someone I really didn't like. And I think those are the moments that we don't talk about in marriage, is that, you know, better or worse means that you need to truly like and love this person. Right. Listen, in spite of. And there were times where I can't remember who told me this. Was it my sister that told me? She was like, I told her that whoever, I think it was my sister, I told her that it was a night where we did not sleep in the same bed. And, or maybe it was my best friend. Anyway, whoever it was, thank you for the advice. And, you know, she was like, whatever you do not like stay in the same bed together. And that's not advice that I'm giving to all people, but it was one of those situations where she was pretty much like, don't let your heart become so hardened to where you can't even sleep in the same bed with this person who you are committed to. And it was, I think it was, And that was something that was hard to do, but it was something that I learned to love him deeper and more authentically, honestly, because he had done something that I truly felt was a betrayal. And here it is, I am sleeping next to the person that betrayed me. And that was something that, you know, those moments, I still have prayers that I wrote out that he's never seen before. I couldn't speak prayers because I was so pissed. So I just wrote. And slowly but surely, I saw God begin to restore his heart, begin to renew my heart. And that's really, honestly, God is how we got, you know, step by step. We get closer and closer. We take a few steps back, but we just endeavored through all of it. We never gave up through all of it.
No, that's good. That's good. You got something you want to say?
Real quick. As far as family trauma roots, I was introduced to pornography at about 7 or 8. It was I had a young relative who was, you know, they were a teenager at the time, so they were like, let me show you. And I'm talking about, like, every time I saw this relative, it was pornography all day. So before I even knew what this was supposed to do to me, I was, you know, deep in it. So by the time, you know, I like I said, I would imagine it's just like a drug or any type of substance that you abuse that, you know, whenever, like she said, whenever I was feeling like, all right, I'm lacking. I hate my job. I need gratification. Guess what? Guess who's there for me? You know what I mean? If, you know, even if it's like I'm not feeling confident to have sex with my wife, what is that saying? You know what? Let me gratify myself. If I, you know, just everything, it was literally like a drug. It was like, hey, this is your escape. This is your whatever. So when we were in the point where it's like, hey, you've been exposed as an abuser, you've hurt your wife, you know, I took the steps, of course, pouring God into it, but it took more than God. And with her, she was like, I need more. I need to see more. Yeah. I need to see action because your words are nothing. She said, your words mean nothing. And it's going to take a while for me to get there. So I need to start working, having accountability, you know, showing receipts of, I had an app, Accountable to You. I don't know if you're familiar with it, where she knew what I was, you know, what I was looking at and where I was. It was just, it was a tangible effort of showing where I'm putting the work in to better myself. And I think just like with rehab, they need to show that, hey, you no longer have time to invest that energy here because you're putting it somewhere else to better yourself. And so that's what I was doing. I was, seeking God, reading, talking to people, being more productive in the house and, internally, just putting that energy somewhere else, because as soon as I give my body and my mind the opportunity for that idle time, that itch came back. So, it was an arduous process, but, we grew from it.
I love that. I love what you said too, Cicely, about it. Just reminded me how we need to make room for grace in our marriage, because I think sometimes we are so focused on, I have to change this person right now. Like, you need to get it. How can you continue to do this to me? How can you not see how it's affecting us? And it's like, when you have to sit in the space where things are not changing on your own time, but you literally have to just release it to God and allow God to work through it. But still love that person through the thing that they're going through, even though it's hurting you. That's hard. But I feel like that's making room for grace. That's making room for God.
Absolutely. Long suffering.
Yes. Listen, I mean, in marriage, you need that. But
I feel like because we were there, we were despicable and we still had to sit in that bed. Even when she was opening back up to me, I still, till this day, I still feel like, for what I put her through in that time, like, I have to, now it's not like a burden to me, but I felt like because she already deserved better, that I will always be, it kind of kickstarted my efforts even more to be a companion and a husband that she always wanted, and then some. Like, there was like an extra credit that needed to happen to say, hey, that's not who I am. That's not what you deserved. And this is who you wanted. This is who you got. And, it was just a little bonus because I'm better than what I was. But there was a time that even if, like I said, when she was opening back up, she was talking to me. She was, touching me when she walked by. I was like, I'm in there. I was like, nope. Even then I was like, nah, she's just being a good wife. She, I ain't out the doghouse yet. But even more so, just realizing who I was and who I wanted to be, I was like, this will be a road to say, hey, I will no longer be that person. And, I'm even thankful to God that I am a better person because of it. Because, who's to say that where would I have been if she had never found out about that? That God was like, hey, caught him slipping, so let's work on this now. So, my dad, he told me, he was like, be thankful that your first year was your worst year, that that you will become so much bigger early in. Because if you would have been exposed to this, if you all would have encountered this year 6 or year 7, she probably would have been like, oh, nah. I'm going over here. I see you in court for these 2 kids. Matter of fact, I might throw all your stuff in the trash and then start working on legal stuff. But yeah, it was, I still stand in the heart of, I want to continue to remind her that I'm better than the person than I initially exposed her to, so to speak, because I was.
That's so good.
You have something you gonna say?
Oh no, you can go.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like what God has been showing me about marriage is like year 1. I don't think we see it from the perspective of like, you're a child when you're year 1, right? Like, you're a baby, you're growing. So like the things that you're maturing throughout the stages, like for year 1 to be your worst year of marriage, like even for Austin and I, that's why I was like, that sounds so familiar, because this is our best year of marriage yet. And I am so thankful for it, because I'm like, if we would have been going through the things that we were going through then, now, like it would have ruined everything. Like that foundation, the foundation that you build in the beginning stages of marriage is everything.
Absolutely. And, it's ironic that they talk about like the 7-year itch. Like people...
Explain it for people who don't know.
So the 7-year
like
itch, well, there's like this, I don't know, this saying that, your 7th year of marriage is like a difficult one. It's where you kind of get antsy, you get tired, you get bored. And I think...
Get
complacent. Yeah. I think it's been quite the opposite for us.
Okay.
But like you said, I don't know if I would have encountered that later in our marriage, if that would have been different,
Yeah. See, I'm glad because I didn't know that's what it meant. Looking back now, and then like last year for us was a hard.
Yeah, year 6 was hard.
Year 6 was probably like our hardest, and And here's the thing that, like, I don't know, D, if you felt this with like your journey. I appreciate the vulnerability for both of y'all, because that's a lot to share. Obviously, like, I was guilty with porn, and then I was also guilty with like the reason why year 6 was so difficult. I think year 6 and a little bit of 7 is because of church. And there's times where I'm like, dang, like, I'm always the one that is like, if we were to get divorced, it was because of me. Like, first it was porn, so that's a no-brainer. Like, now like everything that happened with church, and we talked about on the pod many times, where I felt like I've had to, in therapy and just conversations that we've had, I've had to like forgive myself and stop trying to almost perform to get into like good graces. Let's just, I mean, we keeping it a beam, and I'll throw it to you. Like, even like getting this house, like the whole, when we sat down, when we were like doing the building process, I remember her asking me like, well, what do you want? I was like, listen, whatever you want. Because it was almost like I put us through hell.
I am looking in the mirror right now. Go ahead.
I put us through hell already before. Now I followed the call of God in my life. I said yes. And it put us in a hellhole for our family, following God. And I'm not saying, like, please hear me for those who are watching. I'm not saying that following God is, I know I use that language. What I mean is, it put us into a space that, because of the lack of priorities and putting the church first versus putting my family first, and having a zeal for ministry to be an affirmation that it might not be porn, but I want to be affirmed on this pulpit. So, like, and just the zeal of building and all that stuff. So when it came to like, stuff like the house, or, even there's still times, even now, if I'm honest, where I'm still like having to unprogram my mind, be like, bro, you're not the culprit in this marriage. But when you listen to the lies of the enemy and you live in your head, you'll start to believe. I mean, we've been keeping it the whole time. Like, even with like when it comes to raising boys, and you have a bad day and you yell at them, and then now like their confidence and to come and talk to you, like, they won't talk out loud sometimes because they're just like, well, daddy yelled at me. Like, it's like, dang, I can't do. Yeah, I'm about to say something else. I can't do a dang thing right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that confidence piece has whooped my behind at times, because I think if the enemy can take the head out, if the enemy can take the man out, then it dismantles and dismembers the body in the sense of like the family. So can't remember why I was going that way, but I know you wanted to say something.
I want to say something because I think it still like irks me whenever you speak out of the perspective of like, if we got a divorce, it was going to be because of me. And for me, I'm just like, I feel like I always repeat myself when I say this, but to me, when we're in a marriage, we're on the same team. If our marriage is successful, it's because of us. If our marriage is not successful, it's because of us. It's never just like a one-sided thing. And I think marriages would be more successful if we started seeing this thing more as a team, rather than, oh yeah, you failed at this, so this marriage is trash. No, you failed at that. Let me give you some grace. Let's figure out how we can fight this together. Let's do this together. So I have been trying to encourage you in just knowing that you don't have to prove anything to me. Like, we're married now. Like, that time of trying to prove yourself.
Bro.
Yeah. And it's not like, I don't think it's, and I appreciate that, I don't think it's as at an unhealthy place like it was.
No.
I think it's just still, there are moments where like your mind, like when the Bible says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, like that word renew literally means to like renovate. And that process literally is a tearing down of what was built up. And depending on how big that joker was, you got a lot of tearing down to get to a foundation. Now I rip up the foundation, and the biggest thing with like deconstruction now is people are deconstructing, one, without the Bible, but in two, when we get to the foundation, if we don't use the word to rebuild us, it's like we're just grabbing anything and everything to now build a new tower. So it's just like that process of making sure I'm doing it in a healthy way at times. You know, that's the part. But with the point I was making was just like the second thing for me was like church. And I know that's how we met. That's where I was going. So we met at church. And you know, that was
trenches.
That was an interesting time, man, because again, like, you know, we had just got married, and the thing that, if I'm honest, that I'm jealous of hearing y'all's story is y'all kicked it off with friendship from the jump. I don't feel like we really like started to like really embrace friendship. I don't know what year you would say.
I don't even know.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I remember that being that just being a very...
And it's not to say we weren't friends.
I got you.
It was just something I remember in the beginning of our marriage. I always used to be like, we need to focus on our friendship.
And it used to annoy the hell out of me. 'Cause I was just like, bro, like, do we not like each other or what?
Like he thought I was saying we weren't friends. But to me, I was just trying to say, I feel like... And you know what? I feel like church culture makes it seem like you have to be married. Or you're not in purpose. And I feel like because we were together, it was just like the process went by so fast. But I felt like if we're trying not to have sex, we're trying to, you know, do this thing right, then we need to be married. And I think we kind of rushed that stage of our life because we just thought that we needed to be married in order to be in purpose. And yeah, I don't know. Like when he said he's jealous because y'all were friends. And it took us some time to really become friends.
Yeah, but I mean, I think everybody, like, one thing we have to realize about our journeys is that everybody's got, you know, y'all's story is not our story. My story is not his story. Right. And I think that is really what we have to get out of in the culture that we live in now. Everyone wants to live the same type of life, the glamorized life, or the, you know, I want this to be my path. I want that to be my path. I mean, obviously, I wanted us to be able to stand on a podcast or on a stage and be able to say, oh, yeah, we didn't have sex and there was no other faults in our relationship leading up to our marriage. But it was. And that's just the way that our story unfolded. I think at the end of the day, we are all people. We are all sinful people. And isn't that like the war that we go through with God? Yeah. Am I worth it? Am I good enough? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I hearing from you? Or is that just me thinking about something? And that war that we had, like that happens in it, if we don't get it right with God, if we're still warring in that way with God, then we're going to war that way with all the other relationships in our lives, you know? And I love that you talked about grace, because essentially that is what God extends to us. And that is what, you know, as my wife, as me being his wife, I was called to extend that to him. I hope that he would extend the same grace to me.